Welcome to Decades of Horror, the 1970s.
This will go far beyond every stretch of the imagination.
This is episode 142, recorded June 16th, 2021.
Gruesome Magazine.
I am your host, Doc Rodden, and this podcast is about horror films released between 1970 and 1979. Each episode, my co-host Jeff Mohr and I will tackle another classic, or not so classic, film from this wondrous, groovy, gory, and influential decade. With me this week is my co-host who just dropped off, the one and only Jeff Mohr.
Hey, Doc, how are you today?
Jeff, just as I was announcing him, flopped off the thing. So we'll move on to our next co-host.
Let's see if they disappear too when you announce them.
Bill Mulligan, writer, director, special effects,
He's gone.
and all around nice guy. How you doing, Bill?
I'm doing great, and I didn't vanish when you spoke my name. So,
But you have in person. I've seen that happen. Hey, how you doing, Bill? Bill.
that's probably at a convention when I'm running
No,
around
it's
like
because
a
you're
crazy
heading
person.
off to you're going off to yet another panel. Because what you do when you're at a convention is you wake up and you host one panel until you host the last panel of the night, and then you go to bed. That's your life.
And then it starts over again. That's
It does. And you have the best time. It's really
and it's
awesome.
back, yes. And it's 2 weeks in a row. We had conventions to go to. It was like so wonderful. It's great to have it back.
And of course, also joining us tonight is Chad Hunt. He's comic artist and host of Decades of Horror, the classic era. Chad, how you doing, sir?
I'm great.
You are great.
Great.
I've heard that before.
I've seen it written on paper somewhere too.
But you wrote it,
he's-
so
Yeah.
He's a great chooser of films, that's for sure.
yes, he is. And of course, also joining us is the co-host Jeff Mohr is back. Jeff, how you doing, sir?
I almost changed my mind, but I decided I needed to come back.
I'm not doing this. All right. The film we're covering tonight, and this, as soon as I say this title, you may realize what. Bloodsucking Freaks. Yes, that is the movie we are covering. It's also known as The Incredible Torture Show, among other titles. But, oh my gosh, this movie. You're in for, Chad is awesome. That is true. You are in for a treat. This is a film. I mean, it's not unlike any other, right, Bill? Because you put it up against another film or a series of films from Herschel Gordon. Oh, Jesus Christ,
Lewis.
Gordon-Lewis.
Thank you. English is so easy, folks. That it really is like that, except for a lot more. Nudity.
I never thought I'd hear the words. It's like a Herschel Gordon-Lewis, only mean-spirited.
Yes.
Would ever escape my lips, and yet that's how I feel. It's like I thought The Wizard of Gore was a piece of crap, but it's Val Lewton compared to this thing.
Yeah, Blood-Sucking Freaks. If you are like me, you've heard about this film forever in the day, and maybe some of you have had the opportunity to watch it. I did not. I never came across it. And how it got an R rating, I will never know.
Oh,
There's a story
about that.
Interesting story.
Oh, that's right. I read about that. This is the one that did hang on to your hats, folks. This is going to be interesting. All right. So what we're going to do tonight is we're going to give our first impression of the film when we first saw it. And what did we think of it? And then we're going to chat about the damn thing. And we're going to say some really awful things. And there's going to be the 70s.
This will be my last podcast.
The 70s, women in the 70s are definitely different than women now. Let's just put it that way. And then, of course, and I just mean one particular area. We'll talk about that in a minute. Just hang on. I'm not being an asshole. You hang on with me.
But close to it.
And then we'll wrap things up. Give us a thought. And I think we have some feedback tonight, Mr.
I don't think so.
No feedback
Well,
tonight.
we will after tonight.
This is what, show prep is a wonderful thing and things we should do more often. All right, let's jump into the card here. Bloodsucking Freaks, 1976, released on November 3rd of that year on New York City, New York. And then I don't know where it went from there. It probably stopped going anywhere. Written and directed by Joel M. Reed. The cast includes Seamus O'Brien, Viju Krem, Niles McMaster, Dan Falchi, Alan Daly, Ernie Pisher,
Yes.
Louis De Jesus, Helen Thompson, and Ellen Faison. Tagline, is "See the living dartboard."
Oh my God!
And that's the most horrible thing. The synopsis: Sardu, master of the theater of the Macabre, and his assistant Ralphus run a show in which, under the guise of magic, they torture and murder people in front of their audience. But what the spectators see as a trick is actually real.
It's the Wizard of Gore, which came out the same year, and I guess they could not possibly,
really?
they could not have possibly influenced each other. So I guess great minds think alike.
You know, it's really interesting. It's like
great minds.
This one definitely feels like a 70s film, but the Wizard of Gore feels like a 60s film.
Yeah.
Doesn't it? Because it still has that early
the aesthetic. The aesthetic is 60s. Yeah.
Well, it was Herschel Gordon Lewis's last movie, and he. Very smart man, but never learned a damn thing about filmmaking. His first movie and his last movie are as technically proficient.
As each other. Yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
All right, so this is a notorious film. Let's go ahead and start off. Before we get into our thing, I want to follow up with the R rating. Because I was surprised. Like, how did this get an R rating? And the fact is that it didn't, right? So, Chad, you want to follow up with that?
From what I can remember, I think. Well, somebody might need to help me out here.
All right, Bill, you want to jump in?
It didn't get an R rating. It couldn't possibly get an R rating, so they cut it. And the cut version got an R rating, and then Lloyd Kaufman just sent out the uncut version with the R rating that it didn't earn. So,
and got caught.
Here's my favorite part of the story is that he got caught because, according to the story, a woman said that it disturbed her and her child. So some idiot took their kid to a movie called Bloodsucking Freaks, what they thought was an R-rated movie, and then it turned out to be what it is, and they were shocked and appalled. And
that's Lloyd Kaufman of Trauma fame.
Yeah.
Yes.
By the way.
Yeah.
He also says this is. Go ahead. He said this is the one movie that he would probably not have released if he had to do it over.
Yeah.
And we're talking Lloyd Kaufman. We don't need to go through his resume of awful, appalling, offensive things that he is still willing to stand behind, but not this one.
Mm-hmm. He actually said, "I may have possibly secured my place in hell." By just watching it. It's very misogynistic. But today we would not have anything to do with it. So for him to say that is
maybe I should go back and watch it. Lloyd Kaufman has also guested on Last Drive-In with Joe Bob Briggs, and I swear he told a story about a movie that he did that with the R rating and sending out the uncut version, and I don't remember it being Bloodsucking Freak, so I don't know if he did that more than once. Or
why? If it works once, why not do it again?
But he did suffer.
Yeah,
he did suffer fines. So
he is the last remaining showman of Hollywood.
Yeah.
If you want to call him Hollywood, he's not really Hollywood, is he? He's Jersey or something. I don't know.
But in Jersey, Indy, yeah.
But you know what I mean. All right. We got to find out when we first saw this and what our first impression was. And Chad, you chose this, so you, sir, are up first.
Okay. I'm better than being last because this is going to give you guys plenty of time to think of how to crucify me for picking this one. But I thought I had seen this movie before, and for some reason, I thought it was a vampire flick at some point. But I don't know if it was the poster or something. I just never picked this up and watched it. But I remember certain scenes, like when the patrons were leaving the theater and he was asking for donations. Sardu was asking for donations from them. And I remember certain little snippets, but I don't remember how I saw the little snippets here and there. But this is the first time I've actually sat down and watched this movie from beginning to end, and boy, was that the longest hour and a half. ever. I mean, it was. Yeah, there's probably, we've covered probably worse movies like Cannibal Holocaust and that are gross and stuff, but there's something that makes that film important. Like it's this has no such there's no redeeming value at all for this. It's just wanton destruction and misogyny and gore. It's tough to watch. It really is tough to watch. And I felt like they were trying hard to insert comedy in there somehow with Sardu and Ralphus, their little interactions that they were having. So, but it really didn't quite work out that way for me. It was just a little too, and I know I joked with you guys like, oh, man up and watch it, that kind of stuff when we were talking about it before. But it's hard to watch. It really is. And it just made just lots of inconsistencies. And I think this is the epitome of 70s exploitation. This is top of the line exploitation. Just things happening for the sake of them happening, much to the chagrin of the story. But what I did find interesting is the acting was not that bad. Some of the actors in there were really good and were trying their hardest, but it just didn't. This is a tough one. This is one of those that you watch once and you quietly set it over in the corner and never watch it again. It was tough. It was a tough watch.
A tough watch. That is a good description. All right, let's go with Bill Mulligan next, because Bill Mulligan, he like I said earlier, he does a lot of panels. Have you ever done a panel about this movie?
No.
Why would you, right?
If I did, it would be to talk about like the video nasties, and then I'd feel obligated to go out and watch a few of them. And I'm all against censorship, and I wouldn't even want to see this film censored, but I can see where this would be held up as an example. When they evaluate porn movies, they say, does it have any redeeming social value? And this would, to me, is the definition of what pornographic would be. Although it has no hardcore sex, there's nothing to be gained from this. It's like it's. I guess you could say the lowest form of a horror movie are the gross out films, and it's a gross out film. So in that sense, it's like an hour and a half dead baby joke. But it's an ordeal to sit through. I'm with Chad on this one. I at some point I finally hit the fast forward button just to see how much time I had left, and I was halfway through, and I groaned. I was just so, thank God I was smart enough to do this during the day when my wife is working, because I would not inflict this on her. The acting is not bad. The guy who plays Sardu has that I'm a theater actor quality. And again, it kind of reminds me of those 1970s X-rated movies that sometimes had surprisingly good actors who were starving in New York, and they made these movies to pay the rent. They figured no one I know will ever see them, and then they will disappear into the void and be forgotten, and I'll never have to live it down. And they had no idea that these things would last forever. But it's got that grimy, seedy quality that only New York porno and New York horror films have. I'm not sure what it is, but I can tell a West Coast from an East Coast 70s low-budget movie.
That's true.
But it's got no story. Even the porno movies had something like a woman who, she orders a pizza, but she doesn't have the money to pay for the pizza. Okay, it's a thin plot, but it's a plot. This has so little going for it. There's just no story there. It's just a series of atrocious things with bad special effects, and but I don't know. It was an ordeal to get through, and you're trying to find little nuggets of something to talk about. And yeah, the acting was okay. The film quality was all right for something as wretched as it is. It has more production value than it probably needed to. But I just can't imagine who was entertained by it. other than putting it on for your friends at a party. It's like, here's something you've never seen before, and just see who's the first one to break and run out of the room in tears, I guess. So, yeah, I can't really recommend this to anyone I like.
That you like. I like that.
Yeah.
All right. Jeff, Chad is awesome. What is your first impression of this film, and when did you first see it? Certainly you saw this back in 1976 when it was called.
No. Although I did see Deep Throat and The Devil and Miss Jones at a double feature at the theater.
Oh, wow.
In the early to mid 70s. But anyway, I digress. I would not recommend this to anybody. And Doc, you left out some of the better tagline. See the orgy of the screaming virgins.
Oh.
Join the fun. Human dartboards. Homestyle brain surgery. Dental hijinks.
Hijinks.
Dental hijinks.
I love movies with hijinks in them. But
yeah.
So yeah, you guys stole my line. This has no redeeming value, none whatsoever. Although I will differ with Bill. There is a story. Although it is not a very interesting story. I think Sardu and Ralphus are trying to make their own version of Grand Guignol theater that is going to make them famous somehow, and change the nature of theater. And they need the dancer. And I forget her name. Is it Natalia or something? But they need
Natasha,
her.
I think.
Yeah, they need her in the film to make
Natasha.
it worthwhile. But that's really the only. And then I don't know what the girls that he keeps locked up in the basement that he feeds something to. I don't know what he feeds them to. But yeah, this. So the first time I saw this was a little over a year ago, maybe a year and a half, when it was on The Last Drive-In with Joe Bob Briggs on Shudder, and I would strongly recommend it if you decide, despite our non-recommendations, if you decide you have to watch it, I would strongly recommend that you watch the Joe Bob Briggs, because at least it's broken up into like 15-minute segments that are interspersed with humor and interesting stories about the people in the film. And his guest is Chris Jericho, so that's just that much more. So that's my plug for Shudder. Other than that, it's so now I've watched it twice.
You've watched it
Don't
twice.
make me watch it again.
May God have mercy on your
soul.
Oh, man. Oh,
Well,
man.
Chris Jericho calls it his favorite film. So anyway.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
It does.
Well, he's a heel, so.
Yeah. Yes. All right. Yeah. So I had always seen, stuff about this. I did not know much about it. You know the poster with the gnarly little face and stuff, and I didn't even know it was a Troma film, or at least Troma re-released it in the 80s. I guess they purchased this film for some reason. But jeez Louise, this is this film is it's repugnant. It's repulsive.
Yeah.
It's degenerate. It really, I mean, all it is Grand Guignol, right? That is exactly what it's trying to do. It's just trying to outgore each scene, but it's like, to what purpose? It's just being mean and doing awful things to people, and I don't know what you're after. If you're after something, and maybe I would understand, but and there's this weird subplot of involving the football player and then this really entertaining cop who's ridiculous but kind of saves the ending of the film. But there's something really odd about it that makes you kind of go, what the hell? And I mean, you do eventually go, okay, how long have I been doing this? And you realize you got like 30 minutes left in the film. Like, well, I got to find out what happened now. No, you turn it off and you go on about your lives. But no, I watched it all. I think the biggest takeaway for me is like, wow, have times changed, because the women are all bare naked in this movie, and it's just like women aren't like that anymore. Really, they're
In what way, Doc?
they're all clean shaven.
Well, they don't let you keep them in cages for one thing.
Well, yeah. It was
I
a
don't
different
know.
time.
I've seen movies where they do, but they. I said that out loud.
They're all clean shaven. Is that what you said?
Clean shaven, yes.
Nowadays, you mean?
Nowadays, not then.
But even
No.
I don't know why. Bush.
Let's move on.
There's a lot of Bush in this movie.
Next point, Doc.
I'll just be blunt. I'll just be blunt. And I'm just like, I don't know why that.
Address those letters to Doc Rotten, care of Decades of Horror.
It's just, it's funny. Anyway, I now if you see us, I'm working. No, but I mean, there's literally blood-sucking freaks in here. There's literally a guy that
He's a brain-sucking freak.
Well, he turns the brain to, and all the blood in the brain to mush, and then sucks it out. And so much so that it actually turns off our Seamus guy. That's not Seamus.
Yeah.
He's Sardu. And that he said, nope, we gotta get rid of this guy, kill him.
Well, and even Ralphus was like shocked, and Ralphus was doing some heinous shit in this movie.
Ralphus does the one thing I hate in anything. There's one thing that I just think is the most that should never ever be done, and I've hated other films just simply for that. And
he did it.
He did it. He went there.
At least it's not entirely on camera, but
no.
But
you can imagine it.
But there's one thing I spent the entire movie going, well, at least we didn't see somebody get his genitalia cut off. There's the last still frame for you.
Yeah.
Well, it's not even a still frame. They couldn't afford a still frame. They just tried to have her hold it real still, which is this is such a cheap ass movie. It is,
it really, the effects were sufficient, right? I mean, they weren't necessarily great, but they portrayed what they wanted to do, and it was like, in a gnarly sort of way. And like when they have like this weird game, and they, you put a finger on the bet, and what, and then I bet you an arm around a lag. I do have more chips.
Wasn't it like backgammon or something?
I have no idea.
Oh, that's right. They were using fingers for them.
Right.
Yeah.
For no reason. Like, is one finger worth more than another?
I don't know, but
I mean, at least usually with these movies, you can say, well, at least this kill was good or that kill was good. But the only one that really stood out, I think, was the guillotine, just because that's a horrifying concept of the person having the rope in their mouth.
Well, that built up some tension. Yeah.
And the caning.
There was actually a little bit of build up in that for the most of it. For the most of it, I guess it was really like watching is it pronounced Grand Guignol?
Guignol.
Has anyone ever been to one of those?
I've seen them, like videos of what they're supposed to be about.
Are they just like scenes of torture, or was there a story? Because I regret this. I was visiting my daughter in Montreal, and there was a theater there. Montreal's got a lot of cool little funky places, and they had one that was advertised as Grand Guignol, and I think they were doing a version of Sweeney Todd. So it seems to me like they were doing actual stories, just really gored up more than you were going to see on Broadway, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I think for the most part there were stories. Videos that I've seen of them, there was some kind of story going on, but just over the top blood and gore and that kind of stuff.
Because one problem with this is, the magic show that the people are watching is terrible. Nobody would clap for that. Nobody would want to see it. Of course, it would get bad reviews. It's boring and stupid looking. So I don't really know the appeal of.
And the way to take care of that is kidnap the critic, torture him, feed him human remains. That'll get you.
That'll get you an extra star or two.
Yeah.
But,
so the actual theater of Grand Guignol is it was in France, in Paris, 1897, and it actually was open until 1962. And according to Wikipedia, I like this. So it specialized in naturalistic horror shows its name is often used as general term for graphic amoral horror entertainment.
Which just would fit this movie.
Yeah.
But they didn't. I mean, even though they were supposed to be putting on that, they didn't. It was just this weird magic showy kind of thing. I mean, I guess until the end when they're trying to do the, their ballet version of it, and I guess they're kind of stepping into that, but that was weird and awful ballet for. But okay. So there are some things in here that are interesting. Is the interaction between Sardu, I keep wanting to call him Seamus, but Sardu and Creasy Silo, who I keep wanting to call him Greasy Silo, but Creasy Silo, who is the
Greasy
critic,
strangle.
because he captures him and he spends a good portion of the film all tied up and starved, and they feed him human flesh, and he's like, I'm hungry, I don't care, or he doesn't believe him and eats it anyway. I don't know, it didn't matter. He just started getting pale makeup. Anyway, I liked their interactions. Because I thought he was actually pretty good.
That's the point. Those are the scenes that I thought, are they trying to be funny? Are they trying to make this a comedy? But it's to
make it a comedy. Yeah,
he would. Yeah, I mean, the one I remember is Sardu says, "Break a leg," and Ralphus says,
"Whose leg, master?"
and it's a little later, and you go, oh, "Wait, that was a joke." Yeah, that doesn't hit right away.
Yeah, well, I guess the Bill said it before, the mean spiritedness of the murders and far took away from any comedy they would try and insert in there, and made it just a confused mess, of what kind of movie this was supposed to be. And, not very balanced as far as that goes. And
I would say like the only other time the film showed a hint of something happening was when the football player and the cop show up because they find out that Natasha's there. They announced the thing and they want to talk to her, and she comes out, and it actually felt like these four people were acting. They were actually acting. They were actually in character, and they were doing something. And even Viju Krem, who is Natasha, she ends up, changing her character, her behavior midway through when that whistle blows. And I was like, wow, why isn't there more of this in the rest of the film? You get one or two little nuggets, and the rest of it's like just awful.
One big nugget.
Yeah. If you want to,
we're trying here, folks.
Yeah, we're just digging for anything we can.
Are there fans of this? There's got to be fans.
I'm sure there is.
Yeah. Other than what's his name?
Chris Jericho.
I'm sure there are, because it's so awful. It's so terrible that anyone can be a fan of a great movie.
Oh, well, that's true.
To really appreciate something that not only doesn't have fans, but doesn't deserve to have any fans, well, that makes you special. So, I can see the appeal there. I mean, look, I defend Cannibal Holocaust as being a really well-made, good movie in every sense, except that for a lot of people, perfectly understandably, it's unwatchable because of how it was made. But this
one's not very well made or entertaining to watch. It's just you're in cringe mode the whole time, and it's
you're just wondering who's this made for.
Yeah. Now, thinking
O'Brien,
back,
I think.
well, thinking back at the time, you'd never seen movies like this. It was like the Wild Wild West. Anything goes. Late 70s, early 80s, and stuff like that. So, why not? You got a couple of dollars in your pocket. Let's make a movie, and let's just do whatever. And I feel like those kind of movies attract people because just the subject matter alone, not because it's a great movie, but this movie does have a following, I'm sure, and it might not be what I'd want to watch every other weekend or a couple times a year or whatever. As a matter of fact, I'm never going to watch this again.
Yeah.
But there are people out there that love this kind of film, just over the top gore, and just for the fact that this was something that was not done at the time.
Yeah.
We've got the 2020 hindsight of looking back, and we've seen everything. We've seen everything since then. But this was like, yeehaw! Let's make a movie. And
we've reviewed movies that pushed the limits and did a lot of offensive stuff just to be offensive. Street Trash comes to mind.
Yeah.
But Street Trash is just a creative romp through the park compared to this. There's just a lot more.
And there was a story, a little bit of a story in Street Trash, which we covered on Decades of Horror 1980s. Plug. Pluggity plug. But yeah, that's it. To me, that's a different type of film. It's just that's so over the top, and it wasn't. They had some mean-spirited stuff in it, like necrophilia, and I feel silly saying that.
Awfully mean.
But there was a fun element.
Yeah.
It was so over the top that it was fun. This was just. I hate torture porn movies. I'm not a big fan of Hostels type movies and this and that, but this was just. I mean, you've got a guy who's throwing darts at the lady's butt and naked ass, and he finally got the bullseye by the end of the scene, and it was just. I'm just like, oh.
Yeah.
That's not fun. That's not fun to me. That's not fun.
I need to correct what I said. That who this was made for is Joel Reed, not Seamus O'Brien, the writer director.
Yeah.
That was the inspiration, the brain, the genius behind this.
And that's something else. You could take a movie like this and say, okay, it's crap, but it's the first movie and a guy who would go on to do other cool stuff. And not really. He did a pretty terrible World War II zombie movie with Jamie Gillis. He seemed to like working with porn actors. And that movie's terrible. Even for a bad 70s zombie movie, it's slow. There's just here it is. It got a lot of notoriety. People banning it, people trying to ban it, gave it more notoriety than it probably would have gotten otherwise. And great title.
I've seen that photo of him somewhere else.
Joel Reed.
Yeah, he's very slimy looking.
He recently passed away from COVID, and who knows? He may have been a hell of a nice guy. I don't know.
Who's that? Joel Reed.
Joel Reed.
Yeah. So Night of the Zombies is the movie you were talking about, right?
Yeah. There's a few movies called Night of the Zombies. But this is the one. This is the one with Jamie Gillis and some bad zombies and slow, just slow.
Well,
I
and
don't know that anything
the one he did before this was Bloodbath, and that had Doris Roberts in it, and another actor that you would recognize, Harv Presnell.
Oh my God, Doris Roberts is.
I know, Seinfeld's mom.
Wow.
Oh,
again, New York City.
Raymond's mom. I'm sorry.
Right.
Raymond's
New
mom,
York City had a lot of good theater actors starving. You could get them for a pretty cheap amount of money and a craft service table.
Yeah, and that was true in the UK as well. That's why a lot of those films that we recover in the 70s have the actors that were famous on stage, but they thought exact same thing. They thought they could do these cheapies and nobody'd ever see them, but they didn't know, that video was coming and people would see these things forever. But here's is that the Incredible Torture Show? Is that the original poster, or is that? That looks like a fan poster.
Yeah, which is a pretty cool poster. But
that was the original title anyway.
Yeah,
it is the original title.
That looks really artsy and cool, and this looks like and the other one looks like a piece of crap. So I'd say the second one is far more accurate as to what you're getting. If people went to see the Incredible Torture Show thinking it's some kind of like maybe Jean Rollins Euro trash art horror, and then they got this, they probably would have been a little disappointed.
Well, that was it. The marketing idea to use the acronym of the title somehow.
Oh, right. Yeah. They said when you put it on the marquee, put the first letter of each word in like a different color or something. So.
You know,
I think the other poster's kind of trading off on the popularity of Texas Chainsaw a little bit too.
Yeah.
Although it does have that crazy doctor in it. All right,
what's most interesting about this film are the stories behind the actors, the people that were in it.
Yeah, like this guy. Not a good ending.
What was he doing there in that first picture?
He's having sex with a dead body.
Making out with the dead guy? Okay.
Yeah.
No, I'm not shocked. I'm just asking.
No, it's like
we wanted to make sure.
That would literally be the most shocking thing in any other movie, and this one is just like, yeah, he also.
It's like a passing thing. Oh, I just saw this guy having sex with a dead body.
Of course he is, right? And he died like a year later.
Yes, he was killed by a burglar.
Oh man.
He was doing his best Vincent Price, though. I have to say.
He looks like he's having fun. If you want to grab something, if you want to again search for some nugget out of this film, he does seem to be enjoying himself, and he plays it to the hilt, and does a pretty good job. I could see him doing many other roles. I think he would have been good. It's a shame that he died young, died the way he did, and died with pretty much this as his film legacy.
This and the Happy Hooker.
No.
Yeah.
There you go.
He sort of had a Aleister Crowley vibe going.
Yeah.
A little bit there.
He did. Yeah. He did. I mean, I kind of enjoyed his. I mean, there was things. Yeah. It kind of reminded me of Dracula versus Frankenstein, the Al Adamson film. You know, the characters even feel similar. You know, because we got, and this looks like. I don't know.
Yeah, the only thing that would have made this film worse is if the actors were like playing it straight and serious and everything. At least he was doing that over the top theatrical quality that could take away some of the misery I was feeling watching this. Louis DeJesus.
Joe Bob called him Louis DeJesus.
Louis DeJesus.
Yeah.
Well, you saw who was originally. They were originally trying to get.
Yeah, Hervé Villechaize.
Yeah.
Were they really? I don't know. It looks like they got.
Well, they were actually in talks to get him, and Hervé kept extorting them for more money, and then this guy walks through, and they go, "Get that guy." He just like walks through where they were interviewing Hervé or something, and
he wanted hookers. I think too was one of the things.
Yeah, he wanted hookers plus his salary.
Good guy. Yeah, this looks like John Oates' younger brother, or is it?
Yeah. Chris Jericho brought that up in the thing. He said they used to call this guy Little Oates.
Little Oates
from from Hall and Oates.
Oh my God! Doesn't he look like him?
Yeah.
He made a number of X-rated films in his life, and for years there were rumors that Hervé had made a porn film, and it was one that this guy did. That I don't think they look anything alike, but they just sort of remembered. And I think, if I recall right, his one porn starring role, they actually had a box cover that made it look a lot like Hervé was in it. Haven't seen the film. Didn't seem appealing, but yeah.
All right, so here we go with some shots.
I'll tell you, it wasn't easy finding shots for this film. It wasn't pleasant or easy because virtually every scene in this movie has a naked woman. And I considered hiding all the naughty bits with little miniatures of Chad's head. But
that would be hilarious.
That wouldn't be the first time.
And you guys thought, well, there they are. They're feeding them, making sure they feed them. Oh God! But you guys you thought that the guillotine scene had some tension to it.
Yes, some. It wasn't Kubrick, but I mean, it was something. A little bit of buildup as opposed to just watching bloody teeth fall down.
Well, but also wasn't the whole thing? Was that the cymbal crashing one?
No, but that was earlier.
Okay. Well, I was trying to remember how were they traumatizing her that she would let go of that.
Oh no, they hit her. They were beating her with a cane or something.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
And she was holding the guillotine up with a rope.
She had the rope in her mouth.
teeth. Yeah. So eventually, she had to let
There
go.
it is. There it is, right there.
Yeah.
There's the stew he was making down below, and
That is the bowl of the biggest eyeballs I've ever.
Those
seen.
are sheep eyes.
They're
I've
definitely
dissected
sheep
them in
eyes.
biology class. Yeah.
And then the one in the middle it's probably one of the more famous scenes. You hear a lot
It's
of people.
The one that everyone
about.
talked about when they talked about this movie.
And apparently that's the blood-sucking freak.
Yep, because he definitely takes a straw and does exactly that. And there he is down at the bottom looking at some teeth, and then there's the fingers, which was an obvious. Hey, look, there's a kitty. An obvious. See, hairless kitties. I'm telling you, times have changed.
I knew that joke was coming.
And then, of course, the her competition up above, getting her shoes, her feet cut off.
Yeah.
That's the fakest looking blood in the history of horror movies.
That made Hammer blood look like Jello.
I know, but it's the same color of blood that like you go back to Dracula versus Frankenstein. It's the same, or
even Dawn of the Dead. I mean,
well, it's actually, is it the tit? There's two different colors of blood in that.
Oh yeah, well,
between the finger and the feet.
This may also be the quality of the photos I was able to find. I don't know because that middle one does look.
Most of it was that bright red.
Oh yeah, but it's great stage.
But although this looks like something that was shot on video, it's actually shot on film. And sometimes when, like with Dawn of the Dead, when you shoot on film and you get it back, the colors aren't always necessarily the way you want. If you talk to Tom Savini, he was horrified when the Russians came back for Dawn of the Dead and the zombies were that weird gray color and the blood looked like poster paint, and that's not how it looked when he did it, but that's how it came out. So
and you can't. It wasn't easy to color correct back then, right?
No,
when you put that much correct work in.
I suspect this film was shot on like The Leftovers, which was a big thing back in the day. When they're shooting a reel film, they don't shoot to the very end of the reel. They stop with a little bit to spare, and that means there's going to be several feet of undeveloped film. Well, they would sell that. They would sell that to indie guys who would piece it together and shoot. God, that's got to be the worst way to shoot a film, with different pieces of film, different stock, different length. You had one take, but it cut their costs considerably. Well, you're not going to get a whole lot of quality control when you go from one's film stock to another.
Yeah, and we've seen films that probably are evident of that. I don't know. The more I think about this film, the more I think about Dracula versus Frankenstein. And I guess the more I appreciate that film, and not this one. All right, so let's. We've talked way too long about this movie. Let's go ahead and wrap things up and give our very easy recommendation.
Let me throw in two quick trivia pieces.
Obviously, we're going to spend more time with this.
Yes,
Jeff, go right
ahead. Only a minute. Did you recognize Alfonso de Noble?
No.
The Middle Eastern white slaver that's there to pay for.
Oh my God!
He plays the landlord in Alice, Sweet Alice.
Oh,
that sleazy big,
Well, the football player guy was in Alice, Sweet Alice too. I think. I'd like to think a couple of these actors.
Oh yeah, I think he was in something. He was a father or something, and then the cop Dan Fauci ended up being a. Let me make sure I find this here right.
A virologist?
No. He ends up being an executive vice president of Paramount Television Comedy.
Oh, I'll bet he totally did not have this one on his resume when he applied for that job.
I bet he didn't.
But he did.
And he was an acting teacher of like Fisher Stevens and Marisa Tomei. And anyway.
That might
very
explain
strange.
A lot.
Okay, Doc.
That might explain a lot.
That was only an extra minute.
There you go. All right, let's wrap this up. Chad, you're up first. What was this experience like, and should others to have this experience in their lives?
Oh, like I said, I would never tell somebody else, you shouldn't like this movie because it sucks. For me, nada. I was I was thinking of better ways I could spend my hour and a half the whole time I was watching this, and yeah, it's just not my cup of tea at all. It was just mean. It was mean. It was. I know we keep saying that, but it was a mean film, and you know, and I'm still wondering, like Bill and I were talking about before, where did the lady get the hot dog bun at the end? You know, but I don't care right now. I don't care either. No, I can't recommend this in good conscience to anybody. I can't.
Well, the other girl pulled his heart out of his armpit and then rubbed it all over her body. Like,
yeah,
sure.
I didn't get that either. But at least you know where she got the heart from. I have no idea who pulls where'd that hot dog bun come from?
They were saving it for a special occasion.
It's New York, there's hot dog buns everywhere, right?
Yeah.
Oh my God, there's a whole lot of emails coming from that one. All right, Bill, I don't know where that came from.
Yeah.
Bill Mulligan, save me. What? Give us the spiel, sir. Is that a mummy behind you?
It is. What, you don't have a mummy in your room?
No, I got an eyeball.
Huh? Okay.
Yeah, but not one holding a skeleton.
Holding not just any skeleton, he's holding a werewolf skeleton.
Of course he is.
There's a script there. Oh, I'd rather see the mummy versus the werewolf skeleton than this again. Yeah, this is not for me. I don't think this was ever for me. I don't like torture porn. But what I don't like about those films is, it's graphic and gross, and I feel they actually can get under my skin. So if you like films that get under your skin, I can see where there is an audience for those films. But I don't know the audience for this one, other than just frat boys goofing around, not really liking the film, but maybe liking people's reaction to the film.
Yeah.
I just don't. God help you if you took a date to this movie. You're never seeing that woman again. And if she says, is there anything else like that? You need to run. You need to pack your bags, move. Boy.
Or marry her.
Yeah. Well, these things can go either way. Yeah. This just has no appeal to me. And if you like this film, I'm not going to crap on anybody who likes it. Everyone gets, maybe it was an important part of your childhood. There was a time when movies like this and Faces of Death and all were kind of like rites of passage.
There was, yeah, Faces of Death.
So I guess we've passed our rites of. I can say now. Before I used to say, Bloodsucking Freaks. Nah, that doesn't really sound very good. But it was an uninformed opinion. But now, having watched it, I can say, yeah, that sucks. I do.
That sucks.
And that is my informed opinion. You may agree or disagree, but it's now informed with the hour and a half of my life, of my dwindling life that I wasted watching this.
But it was in the interest of science.
It is.
Yeah.
This is how we get ahead.
There's a joke in there that I'm not.
There is.
Because I think it's literally in the movie. Chad is awesome. You're up next. There, Jeff Mohr. What? Oh, just tell me.
Yeah.
There's no way to spiel.
Well, this is one of those movies where I think we can safely say we took the hit for you. Don't watch this unless. You want to watch it, that's fine. Yeah. And I'm not going to argue with anybody's taste in terms of, if you're doing a dissertation on exploitation films of the 70s, I guess you need to watch this at some point. But otherwise, and again, I would strongly recommend the Joe Bob Briggs version. When they did Cannibal Holocaust on Joe Bob Briggs, they did a separate cut of only the Joe Bob Briggs talking about it, where he didn't have the movie mixed in, and this probably one that could use that.
Yeah,
but they didn't. But they haven't. So
just do the Reader Digest Joe Bob Briggs version.
Instead, we got that terrible Jericho music video.
Oh, God.
Yeah. Oh, that too. Yeah.
I'm just going to jump in here and say, woof. It's on Shudder. You have Shudder. If you feel brave, God help you. But yeah, I was like, what are you guys talking about? come on. What do you mean? Is the print bad? What's going on? What are you talking about?
Yeah. Don't call it an ordeal. And
I don't get this. It's an ordeal.
I said it was an ordeal, and Doc comes back. It's like, what do you mean? Is the print bad? I'm like, no, the print's not bad enough. I can see what's happening.
Because we've had ordeals before. We've had films that were like, what? But this one is, you're not going to have any trouble seeing anything. It's not for me either. I don't know. It's kind of a thing to watch because of the nature of what we do as a group. We watch 70s horror films, and this is a 70s horror film, and
we watched it.
So
you don't have to.
Yeah. So we're done.
This is actually this is the first movie we've done, I think, where I would rather watch Fury of the Werewolf.
Oh yeah, Fear of the Wolfman, sure. Oh,
without
absolutely.
a doubt. Yeah.
Okay. Fair enough.
So maybe just maybe it's time that we gave
Chad chose both of them, by the way.
Paul Nation another chance.
That's
we
what
should
you
do
pay me
another.
for. That's what you guys pay me for.
We should do another Paul Nation film.
Maybe.
Should we?
That's your cue there, Jeff.
Oh, our next episode, chosen by Doc, is a Paul Nashi or Nashi film, depending on which pronunciation you prefer, called Assignment Terror.
Yes.
AKA,
also known as Frankenstein versus Dracula.
Not to be confused with Dracula
versus Frankenstein.
Right.
Which sometimes they do that. They do call it the same thing. And they do.
Or Dr. Jekyll versus the werewolf.
No, I think that's a different movie.
That was a different movie. We'll get to that one eventually. But so we're gonna this one's fun because it's a monster mash. It also has Michael Rennie in it.
Oh yes,
So that's a thing.
Cool.
If you're a fan of the classic era, I'm sure you've covered a Michael Rennie film here and there.
He wanted a vacation to Spain.
He did. And these movies would pay their way. And after all, no one would ever see them.
Nobody would ever see it. Now we're watching it 50 years later. So that'll be our next episode. I have a feeling it's not going to be as bad.
I've got
I don't think it's going to be much better.
It could be an Indian test pattern for 90 minutes and it wouldn't be as bad.
Yeah, I do think there's I know there's an interesting mummy in this as well. There's mummies and Frankensteins, and of course
there you go. You had
the
all kinds of Frankensteins in this.
Yeah, and maybe a few other things. So
Chad,
it's gonna be fun.
Thank you for taking us places where no man's gone before.
Yeah, thanks, Chad.
Hey,
again.
Like I said, that's my job here.
So we were certain we were going to keep this under 30 minutes. Here we are at 53. Let's get out of here. Bill, Jeff, Chad, thank you so much for joining me tonight.
No, thank you.
Thanks, Doc.
Thank you.
Of course. Let's say goodnight.
Chad is awesome.
Chad is awesome.
Damn right. Don't forget it.
Gruesome Magazine.